The Indy Lights Championship, presented by Cooper Tires Points Chase, took a roller coaster ride at the Barber Motorsports Park doubleheader 2 weeks ago. Championship contenders Zach Veach and Gabby Chavez entered race one nearly knotted at the top, but contact between teammates on the start at turn one sent Chavez on the wrong path with front wing damage. Veach pounced from pole position, controlling the event unchallenged and grabbing maximum points on offer. Race 2 was a different story, however, as the Belardi Auto Racing pair appeared intent on rectifying their prior misstep. This time it was Chavez who commanded the lead, while rookie Alex Barron promptly dispatched a Veach for a Belardi 1-2. The second of 4 Indy Lights doubleheaders is next from the Grand Prix circuit on the hallowed grounds of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The Indy Lights Championship, presented by Cooper Tires, coming up.
It's the racing capital of the world and on the to-do list for every young open-wheel racer. And the 105-year-old facility now features a redesigned and enhanced 14-turn, 2.4-mile road course that is also hosting the Verizon IndyCar Series for the first time. Hello and welcome to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I'm Kevin Lee, along with former Indy Lights driver Anders Krohn. Well, there are 2 races for Indy Lights on this road course this weekend, along with the Verizon IndyCar Series, and they also get a chance to come back and race on the Oval 2 days before the Indianapolis 500. And Anders, this isn't the Oval this weekend, but still, what does it mean to these young drivers to race here?
This is still the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Clockwise, counterclockwise, it really doesn't matter. It's still the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and these guys badly want to do good here.
Well, coming into the doubleheader weekend, Zach Veach now had a 9-point lead on Gabby Chavez for the championship. But are drivers thinking as much about points this weekend?
They absolutely will be. It's another doubleheader, Kevin, and as we know, doubleheaders are crucial for the championship. On the ovals, we only see 1 race per weekend, but on this road course, we have 2 races, and that could be huge come championship end.
Well, as mentioned, 2 races this weekend. The feature race, round 6, is coming up in just a moment. First, though, we go to the highlights from yesterday's race number 5. And a heavy downpour not long before the race made it a wet race. In the front, Matthew Brabham on the pole in the blue car, Gabby Chavez, the red car on the outside. They race into turn number 1. Jack Harvey taking a peek to the inside. Alex Barron in the red 4 car looking to the outside. Brabham maintains the lead. Chavez, though, right on his rear wing. Here's a look at what the drivers are dealing with on board with Alex Barron. That's from behind Matthew Brabham's car. Brabham still on lap 1, maintain the lead. This is also on lap 1 with Gabby Chavez getting a look at him. But Brabham is going to come right back. Chavez won't hold the lead for long. And then Chavez goes off track and loses several positions. Battle for second place. Alex Barron and Zach Veach, the championship leader. Veach on the inside makes contact with Barron, and Zach Veach goes around. Here's Chavez going at it with Jack Harvey. And Harvey coming right back. Chavez, meanwhile, had engine problems. Lap 18, his race ends. He would finish last in 11th position. Zach Veach had a tough day, too. He finished in 9th, but still maintained the points lead because of Chavez's engine issues. Matthew Brabham had no problems. He cruises to his first Indy Lights win. Luis Razia finishes in 2nd. Matthew Brabham, a winner at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And here's how the points look after 5 of 14 rounds of the 2014 Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires Championship. Veach stretches his lead by 3 points on Chavez, but now Razia is a little closer in the fight. Jack Harvey and Matthew Brabham in the top 5. After that, we see Alex Barron with another solid result. Not the second that he had at Barber, but he is 6th in the points. Well, the weather is much better today. Great conditions in store for race number 2, round number 6. Now let's get down to the grid for the third member of our broadcast team, Jake Query with the pole sitter.
yesterday's Indy Lights race was not on the slick Cooper tires, but rather, of course, on the treaded rain tires. And now it comes a whole new dynamic here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Starting on pole, of course, is Luis Racia. Now, let me ask you the difference in those tires and the conditions. How different is it going to be for you in the cockpit and the feel of the car?
Well, we had a lot of testing before the qualifying, and we qualify on the dry, so we pretty much know how to handle the car on the dry. The wet race yesterday was eventful and then was really nice, a good action between drivers, and was really difficult by the end also. The tires were winning away, and it was difficult to handle the car on the track. But now with the slick tires, it's always going to be about pace. So you print the pace from the beginning, and then you start to be in the front.
This obvious road course does have passing zones. Where will you be looking to make sure that your mirrors aren't getting too full?
Definitely turn 1 and turn 7, which is front straight and back straight.
Luis Racia will start up front here. Race number 2 for the Cooper Tires Indy Lights at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
All right, thank you, Jake. You visited with Luis just a few moments ago. It's time now for Anders Insider. With Anders Krohn, what are the keys to this race?
Well, despite the fact that all the teams and drivers mainly are based in Indianapolis, none of them have raced on this Indy road course before, so I think we're looking forward to an incredibly exciting race. The second point here is the fact that the straightaways are so long and there's such a good opportunity for drafting here. I think we're going to see a lot of passing in this race, a lot more so than we've seen in the previous few races. And the final point is, will this be the race when Gabby Chavez and Zach Veach come together? They've kept it so clean this entire time so far this year. But is this the race when their heads will butt and they go out of the race together, or will they keep it clean?
And as mentioned, the championship is separated by just 12 points coming into this. Round number 6 of 14, the second this weekend from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And here is how they will line up. It's based on either your second best qualifying lap or your fastest lap in the first race. Well, it was wet yesterday, so these are from qualifying. Racia and Chavez in the front row. There's Harvey and Brabham on row number 2. The championship leader, Zach Veach, on the inside of row number 5 with Alex Barron, then Juan Piedrahita and Juan Pablo Garcia, Zach Meyer, Scott Anderson, and then Lloyd Reed rounding out the field. Well, it's great to have with us a current Verizon IndyCar Series driver in the booth with us today, and that's Martin Plowman, a former race winner in Indy Lights, and he is racing this weekend at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway with A.J. Foyt's team in the Grand Prix, and also will race in his first 500 coming up later this month. You've been on this track, Martin. What do you think of it?
I think it's a great track. It's an unknown to a lot of drivers. The straights are so long, so there's going to be a lot of drafting. It's going to create a great race.
And here we go for the green flag. We're underway at Indianapolis, and Racia in the Lucas Oil white and red car has the early jump. There's on board. We are on lap 2 because they had an aborted start the first time around. Racia jumped it. Racia with Harvey looking to the inside maintains the advantage. On board with Alex Barron now. So difficult, Anders, to get through this section.
It really is, and on lap 1, everyone wants to grab that lead. And the thing about it is, you come off the front straightaway of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which is so wide, into this tight corner as we have contact with Zach Meyer and Juan Piedrahita. Not quite sure what happened there, but clearly those two fighting for the same real estate on the racetrack.
Meyer in the yellow and black car, Piedrahita in the white and blue car. Back up front. Battle between Zach Veach and Matthew Brabham there. They are teammates. That's for third position with Brabham in the blue and white car in front. The two Bilardi Auto Racing cars, Gabby Chavez and Alex Barron in the red cars.
Big
there's
damage
to Piedrahita.
Big damage for Juan Piedrahita. Looks like he's going to pull off track there. Hopefully he can make it back to the pits, get a new front wing on, and get back racing again.
And another spin. That's Zach Veach. The championship leader is around.
Zach Veach, did he get hit there, or was that a mistake? I'm not sure. I couldn't really see. But that's obviously going to be a huge blow to his championship run.
Well, he had difficulty yesterday finishing in 9th, but still maintained the points because Chavez lost an engine, and he just lost it there.
Incredible. I saw the Matthew Brabham locked up a wheel, and I'm wondering if he got a little bit thrown off by that. Went into the corner a little bit too deep and then just ran out of room and spun the car. Again, outside the ideal line on these racing lines, it's really, really tough to keep your grip.
This is the opening lap. This is the contact between Meyer and Piedrahita. And one more look at this contact. Piedrahita on the inside, Meyer on the outside.
It just looks to me like Meyer wants to keep it tight and Piedrahita wants to track out, and there just isn't enough room. So just an unfortunate racing incident there. I don't think we can call that.
Battle for third back there. Chavez to the inside of Brabham. That's turn number 7, and Brabham off, and Chavez also off course.
I can't believe all the action we're seeing here. Brabham off the track. Obviously, he was a race winner yesterday, and now he is falling back quickly.
Scott Anderson also gets the position there. That's him in the yellow car for Fanforce United. And we are under a full course caution. Luis Rizia has the early lead. Jack Harvey has jumped up to second. Stay with us from Indy. Back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Grand Prix of Indianapolis. An early exit for Juan Piedrahita with Martin Plowman and Anders Krohn. I'm Kevin Lee. This is Indy Lights in the Grand Prix of Indianapolis. We're going to go back to lap number 1 in the contact between Meyer and Piedrahita, Anders.
Yeah, and, it really was just a racing incident. Zach Meyer just squeezing Juan ever so slightly, and Juan still tracking out of the corner. I don't think we can really say that was one of the others' mistake there.
We are under yellow for the toe-in for Piedrahita. Let's go back to the start, and we'll go on board with Alex Barron here.
Look at that outside move there. That is a bold move, and in this instance, not necessarily paying off, though, as we could see Chavez getting bottled up on the outside.
And there, Matthew Brabham on board, trying to go 3 wide at the start. Brabham thought about it, but there's Zach Veach, his teammate, thinks about him to the inside.
Brabham played that very, very smart. He locked his wheels up a little bit, knew that he had to keep it tight on the exit of turn 1, not to run wide like Gabby Chavez did.
Rizia, Harvey, Barron, Chavez, Scott Anderson in 5th, and they're on board with Matthew Brabham, yesterday's winner, running in the 6th position. We mentioned make that Zach Veach losing it early on in this race, and there's another look at the Andretti Autosport car.
Just loops it around, just tries to carry a bit too much speed in there, and we can see Matthew Brabham lock a wheel up, and that might have thrown him just a little bit off and try to carry that speed into the corner. That is a very, very tight corner, and it really catches up to you.
All right, we're getting ready to restart. We'll be working on lap number 6.
Rizia with a fantastic jump there. Again, this is the longest straightaway we see on any road course this year. It's vital to get a good run here so that the guy behind you doesn't get a draft on you, and Rizia did that to perfection. As we can see, the Bilardi teammates getting close, and at the back of the field as well, a big move there from Zach Meyer on Lloyd Reed.
Martin, what are the challenges of turn number 1? You've had an opportunity to try this weekend.
That straight presents, like a big drafting opportunity. So a lot of guys in the back of the field will be thinking, they want to make big moves. This is the one time in the race where you can really move forward. So, nothing really happened in this restart, but later on in the race, guys will be getting more confident, bolder, and taking more risks.
We'll keep an eye on Matthew Brabham there in the blue and white car. He's trying to make a move on Anderson. That's for 5th position.
Great job from Scott Anderson here, running in 5th position. He was the guy that had the vicious hit at St. Petersburg this year. Completely wrote that car off. Had to build a brand new car for Long Beach. Did a solid job there, but is now back into the top 5 where he started in St. Petersburg.
He finished 7th yesterday. I talked to his car owner, Tice Carlson, right after that race. He's very pleased. We're gaining on it. We're making good progress.
And it's great to see he's not far off the leaders here, just losing a little bit of lap time every single lap, but not much at all.
The top 4 have checked out just a little bit.
And I think we're going to see a lot more passing here towards the end of the races. So we see Matthew Brabham getting big pressure from Zach Veach here. Brabham goes in to defend his position. Veach is going to try the outside move there. And is he going to be able to make that stick? Oh,
side by side. Right, these are teammates.
That is some respect between teammates right there. But we have turn 4 coming up, which is going to be advantage Brabham.
Very aggressive from Mr. Veach here.
Did they touch? Close. Oh. Brabham misses the corner, and then Veach goes wide.
And look at JP Garcia now with a run on Veach. Is he going to try for a pass? This is astounding. Let's see what happens here. No position change. Meyer to the inside of JP Garcia.
Now, is that going to get a penalty for Mr. Brabham? Because normally when you cut the corner like that, you have to give way to the guy who is on track.
So we'll watch that and see if we get anything from race control. So Brabham now back to a 7, 8, 10 car length advantage. There's the battle for ninth, with Meyer in the yellow car in front.
Such an exciting opening lap here as we see J.P. Garcia take that spot right back from Zach Meyer. Great move there, just a little bit later on the brakes. And the thing about this track is, even though it has long straightaways, it's got really hard braking zone, which are great for passing. Going into that corner there, he just stepped on the brake a little bit later than Zach Meyer and took that position right back.
Heading back into turn number 1, the best passing opportunity. Will anyone have enough of a draft to make a move here? And it's all about the level of downforce here. You want it for the corners, you don't want it for that section.
And it's such a tough balance, and the teams and drivers will pull their hair out figuring out exactly what downforce level do we need. And as we can see, most cars here are running fairly trimmed out.
Well, Sam Schmidt's car is back in front in Indianapolis. Luis Rizia leading the Grand Prix of Indianapolis. Back in Indianapolis for Indy Lights on NBCSN with Martin Plowman and Anders Krohn. I'm Kevin Lee. Race number 2 this weekend. Luis Rizia is the leader. But while we were away, we saw the teammates, Matthew Brabham and Zach Veach, battling just a moment ago, and they are still at it. A race for the 6th position. Coming down the front stretch towards turn number 1, that's Brabham in the blue and white car. Veach, just moments ago, in the red and white car, and Veach gets the position. That's for 6th spot in the race here today and for important championship points. But Brabham wasn't done yet. The winner yesterday came right back around, just like they did a couple of laps ago. They might have touched the last time. Both went off slightly. This time, no contact. Fretful moments for Michael Andretti and the car owners, but really good racing as we're back live now. And still Brabham is chasing Zach Veach. Luis Rizia is the leader, already and out. Let's go down to pit road with Jake Query.
An early finish for Juan Piedrahita in car number 77. Juan, you've had a chance now to come back to pit road here and think about it. What was it that happened? What did you feel in that incident?
Well, it was a tough start. Everybody was moving around. We got into turn 1 and everybody was bottled up. Turn 2, I had 2 cars, one on the outside, one on the inside. I had no space, so one of the cars on the outside just came into me, and we got together, and at that point I was just a passenger. So, yeah, really disappointed, but just have to keep going.
We'll see you here in a couple of weeks for the Oval.
Yeah, thank you.
Juan Piedrahita's day has come to an end in car number 77.
All right, thank you, Jake. He will be credited with an 11th place finish after starting 7th in this race. Back up front, and Jack Harvey now is caught up to his teammate, Luis Rizia. He might have a run coming into turn number 1 here, Anders.
Let's see if he can utilize that draft. He timed that so beautifully, but Rizia just doing a great job there of locking up the inside. He's going to run a bit wide here. Harvey's going to try the over and under, but turn 4 is a difficult passing spot. I would be surprised to see Rizia let that go, which he obviously does not. But these two teammates are fighting so hard right now.
Martin, how even are these cars? You're trying to get around someone, but this is essentially a spec series. That's the challenge. One to catch, another to pass.
Exactly. I mean, even though the cars are even, there's quite a lot that teams, and drivers can do to make them, that just nth degree better. It's interesting to see the Sam Schmidt guys are back on pace this weekend. They've had a difficult start to the season. They've dominated the last 4 years straight, winning the championship. It was the last 3 years, but they've struggled to adapt to these new Cooper tyres. So their engineers have finally figured out a way to make these tyres work.
They seem to be getting better and better with each race results. Rizia, I would say it's safe to say he's gaining on it. Up to 3rd in points. He was 49 back coming into the weekend, 30 back. Now he's with 18 going into this race. He's coming off a 2nd place finish in the race yesterday. He was the runner-up at Barber in the first race there last week. The challenge here, Anders, though, is not only are the cars, as we take a look at Harvey, peeking to the inside in turn number 1, not close enough. The cars are fairly equal. Well, now here's Harvey going around to the inside.
Rizia just making a slight mistake there. He is clearly pressured, just outbraked himself a little bit. Harvey playing it very smart, though, not placing his car in danger there with Rizia. He knows that it's this teammate, and he is not allowed to take him out.
The challenge is not only are the cars in the series fairly similar, but as I understand it, they have almost, if not identical setups. These are teammates running the same stuff.
They absolutely are, and there's not a lot of difference between these two cars. But another difficulty in this race is going to be tire management. In Indy Lights, you never do pit stops during the race, which means that you need to manage your tires for 100 miles from start to end. And that's a very difficult task for these drivers.
On board with Alex Barron. Cooper Tires, the new tire this year, and that's one of the theories that we have is why Sam Schmidt's team has not dominated the way they have, that maybe some others have adjusted, or just the fact that one of the reasons they were so far in front is that you would run the same tires for so long. Sam Schmidt's team had so much data. They're the longest standing team. They always have good equipment. They always have good drivers.
And, you know, it really took out all the advantage they ever had in Indy Lights. And now we're seeing some of that slight hint of dominance come back. But it's taken them 4 race weekends. So it's only now, you know, the first third of the racing season before they're caught up to the Alex Barron and the Gabby Chavez and the Zach Veaches of the paddock.
Barrett is still within reach, running back there in third in the red car. Harvey is not close enough to make a try that time in turn number 1. Martin drivers are describing this track surface as magnificent. Very smooth, very grippy. But with so much grip, does that cause a little more tire wear?
No, I think the track being a new surface, it definitely creates a lot of grip. But what I noticed during practice that under the sun, the track gets so hot, it's bringing out oil from the track surface because it is a new surface. So under the heavy sun load, it's creating a very greasy track surface. So you'll probably see cars start to slip and slide later in the race.
Martin Plowman is competing this weekend in the Grand Prix of Indianapolis for A.J. Foyt Racing, and also will be in his first Indianapolis 500. This is not his first IndyCar race. Martin had 3 opportunities in which he did very well back in 2011. He's had good success in sports cars. You've got a trophy from Le Mans at home, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That was definitely a good one on the mantelpiece.
Harvey chasing Razia. Little look into turn 1.
Yeah, and as we can see, they're a little bit strung out right now, but clearly the draft is working well because they're exiting these corners with far greater distance than they are going into them. So I think it's only a matter of time before someone just runs a little bit wide and makes a mistake and opens up the door for someone here. As we can see, Matthew Brabham and Zach Veach piling on the pressure. But I will say, I'll give a lot of credit to Scott Anderson right now. He's running so strong in front of these Andretti Autosport guys. With Fanforce United, it's a smaller team compared to all these other teams out there in the paddock. They're a small team, but they do a great job. And the fact that they're running in front of the Andretti guys right now, I think is a testament to the team and driver.
That's a battle for 5th position. Anderson is in the 5th position, and here is Brabham going to the inside of his teammate. They will nearly touch and maybe do. And Veach, the championship leader, goes off just a little bit. They have tangled at least a couple of times already in this race. Fascinating stuff between the teammates. Stay with us. Much more to come from Indy Lights at Indianapolis. It's race number 2 of the weekend for Indy Lights at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, going the opposite direction. The road course race, and Luis Razia leads Jack Harvey and Alex Barron. Jake Query joins us again down on pit road.
Guys, watching that number 83 machine of Matthew Brabham, got a chance to talk to him just before he got in the car, and he said he anticipated, Anders, perhaps you can add on this, that he thought today would be far more physically grueling on him than was yesterday on the wet tires and the wet condition. He said there's going to be more downforce today, which means I'm going to have to be fighting the car a lot more today. I'm thankful, he said, that the more physically demanding race of the 2 is going to be the second of the 2. But he had started 4th, fallen back to 6th, now trying to close back in to that top 4 position. But so far, been a pretty long day for Matthew Brabham.
Very good point there, Jake. And certainly when you race in the wet, there's not as much grip, and also there's less heat. So it just means that the driver expels less energy throughout the run. However, here in the dry, there's a lot more G-forces, a lot harder braking, a lot tougher the switchbacks from corner to corner. So I think Matthew Brabham is exactly right in what he's saying, in that it is going to be more physically challenging. However, it's looking like at the moment he's handling that very well, as he's just gained 2 spots there with a couple of very aggressive moves. the move we saw on Zach Veach is certainly one that was very aggressive and unexpected from Zach Veach's side.
And then we saw him get by Scott Anderson for the 5th position. This is turn number 1. Back up front, Razia, followed by Harvey, then Alex Barron.
And everyone just kind of keeping their distance at the moment. I'm thinking that Harvey might be a little bit quicker than Razia at the moment, but just not quick enough to get close enough to get into that draft and make that vital pass. We saw him a few laps earlier being able to make that. However, at the moment, Razia just not putting a foot wrong and doing a great job.
Well, we're past the midway point here today. It's a longer race today. Race number 1 of a weekend is always 30 laps, 40 laps for round number 2, the feature race, or an hour. The first race is a 40-minute max time limits. And Harvey is not giving up. He's still within reach, but just hasn't been able to do enough to get around him. He had a couple of tries at it earlier.
Just hanging in there. And just like we talked about, these guys are driving a damn near similar car, so we know that it's going to be down to the driver here to make the difference, as we can see Harvey closing in even further with Alex Barron here, trying to chase those two down, but as of right now, not having any luck at doing that. And just switching gears real quick here, Martin, you've driven both the Indy Lights car and the current Indy car. To you, what are the big differences?
Well, as Matthew said, I mean, these Indy Lights cars are very, very physical. They're very heavy. This is the 7th or 8th year that they've used this spec of chassis, so it's a very heavy car. But compared to the new Indy car, there's so much more steering weight that goes into the new one. I've had to train like crazy in the gym to gain muscle mass. I think I've put on close to 5 or 6 pounds of muscle, so I only weigh 136 pounds soaking wet. But for my debut here, I'm up to 142, and that's not gaining fat, that's just gaining pure muscle.
On board again with Alex Barron is having a nice run today. He's had a good view of the battle with the teammates, and Barron has been able to keep his teammate, Gabby Chavez, who has already won 2 times this year, in his rearview mirror.
And we've seen so much maturing from Alex Barron. He was the kid that in the first few rounds he was blisteringly quick, but always made a mistake here and there. He got a podium at Barber Motorsports Park, and after that has just been on an absolute roll, and we've seen him on the podium and just doing an absolutely magnificent job at the moment.
This is only his 3rd season in Formula cars. He won 9 of 14 in the 2012 French F4 Championship, won 2 of the 4 races last year in USF 2000, makes the jump to Indy Lights. On board with Matthew Brabham here.
He has caught up to Gabby Chavez quick. Brabham is the quickest guy on track at the moment, having caught up in just a couple of laps from the 2-second gap now down to a half a second gap. This is great racing.
Lock up a little bit there into turn number 1. We wondered what the 2 teammates were thinking of each other, Brabham and Veach. Well, Zach Veach will be a lot happier with Matthew Brabham if he can take some points away from Gabby Chavez, his chief contender in the championship. But Luis Razia may have something to say about that. 3rd in points coming in, and he's in charge right now in Indianapolis. Stay with us. More to come from the Grand Prix of Indianapolis. With former Indy Lights driver Anders Krohn, former Indy Lights winner and current IndyCar driver Martin Plowman, I'm Kevin Lee. Back for the Grand Prix of Indianapolis. Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires. The inaugural Grand Prix weekend of Indianapolis, the Verizon IndyCar Series. IndyCar's racing on the road course at Indy for the first time this weekend. On board with Matthew Brabham, who won for the first time yesterday here in Indy Lights. He's running in the 5th position right now and trying to chase down Gabby Chavez for 4th position.
He is putting on all sorts of pressure, and Gabby Chavez, as we know, under pressure is really, really good. So Brabham's going to have to get creative here to get by Chavez and then start catching the lead pack.
And that is the lead right there with teammates. Luis Razia in the white Lucas Oil car. The red nose cone, the blue wing, the 42, that's Jack Harvey. Also a young driver from England who was a winner last year in GP3, racing in the States for the first time.
And this is such close racing right here. Jack Harvey just not giving Razia an inch to breathe. And just one slight hint of a mistake here, and Harvey's going to be by. As we can see here, he's just showing himself in the mirrors ever so slightly, making Razia lock up in that corner, running a little bit wide. And that's what Harvey's task is at this point. It's not just to get up in the draft to try and make a pass, but it's to have Razia make a mistake.
Jack Harvey is just 20 years old, making great progress. He's finished on the podium 3 times, including yesterday, but third each time. He's got a chance to move over a step here today. A really good chance.
This would be a huge step forward, both for him and his racing team, with moving up the podium here.
There's Brabham still working on Chavez. Chavez comes in second in the championship, 12 behind Zach Veach. And importantly for Chavez, he's ahead of Zach Veach right now. So the championship can really tighten up today, with Razia also going to get further in the mix.
He is, and I really have no idea why Zach Veach is struggling for pace. As we saw, as soon as Matthew Brabham got past Scott Anderson, he just pulled away. However, Veach is not able to even challenge Scott Anderson, so I'm wondering if there might be something wrong with the car, or if he just doesn't have the outright pace.
He's gone off a couple of times today and maybe made contact a couple of different times with his teammates.
I think the only thing I can really add to that, I mean, I've known Zach for a few years, and he's an extremely talented driver, but I see myself in him in that, you know, I'm the kind of driver that will struggle when you don't have full confidence in the car underneath you. And he's a very smooth driver, so he's not the kind of driver to generate heat in the tyres. And because this track is such, got such long straightaways, and you're relying on mechanical grip, you really have to muscle the car under the braking zones. So that's why a guy like Brabham, who's got so much raw talent and wrestles the car around the track, he's able to get that heat in the tyres. That's why I think we're seeing Zach struggle on a track like this.
So speaking of Zach Veach and all the other drivers for that matter, which drivers are you the most impressed with so far this year?
I think based on pure experience, I mean, Brabham stands out for sure. He doesn't have the experience of Razia's and Veach's. Razia, he's been driving in GP2 for several years, which is equivalent to, very, very close to an IndyCar kind of pace. So this car should feel easy to him. And Veach, it's his second year in Indy Lights. He's a genuine title contender, but Brabham's, he's definitely showing his worth right now.
Harvey took a look to the outside. This, from what I've seen this weekend, especially in USF 2000 of Pro Mazda, is a track in turn 1 where you could go to the outside. If you can hang on to it, then you have the inside line for turn 2.
Exactly. It's just so tough to make it stick through turn 1 because it does fall off a little bit. There is a slight downhill there.
And it's so bumpy as well.
Exactly. And it is incredibly tough to keep the car underneath you right there. And as we saw in USF 2000 and Pro Mazda, they were going 2-3 wide into that corner. So certainly these guys should be able to do something similar at least.
I love the crowds we're seeing on the hill. This has been a fantastic debut weekend for Indy cars on the road course in Indianapolis. They are packed in here today before the race, trying to walk through the Pagoda Plaza. It felt a little bit like race day for the Indianapolis 500. We know the crowd is nowhere close to the Indianapolis 500, but in my opinion, this has been a successful event this weekend.
It just doesn't get any better as a driver, and a team for that matter, to race in Indianapolis. This is where everyone lives. This is where all the teams are based, and this is where all the biggest fan base is. So just a magnificent opportunity to race on this racetrack going the other way.
Well, we're starting to head down the home stretch, and it's not decided yet. Matthew Brabham taking a look to the inside. Stay with us here from the Grand Prix of Indianapolis with Indy Lights. Round 6 of the 2014 championship, Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires. We just saw a moment ago Matthew Brabham get by Gabby Chavez for 4th. Now Brabham is chasing down Chavez's teammate Alex Barron for 3rd position.
He is by far the fastest guy on track right now. In just a couple of laps, he's gone from being a few seconds behind Alex Barron to now being right on his gearbox. Clearly, he has something figured out in this race today and made a very daring pass on Gabby Chavez, made that stick, and now has his sights set on the podium.
2 separate battles on board there with Brabham running in 4th, chasing down the red car of Barron for 3rd, and the 2 Sam Schmidt-Peterson teammates up front with Razia. There we see him coming towards us down the main straightaway in the Lucas Oil car. He is leading his teammate Jack Harvey. Harvey will take another peek to the inside. Laps are winding down. If you're going to go get him, this is the time to do it.
Time is of the essence, and it is running down quickly for Matthew Brabham in 3rd, and also for Jack Harvey here in 2nd spot. He wants that win and showing himself in the mirrors for Luis Rizia every so often, just piling on that pressure. He's not close enough to get into that draft and make a pass. So Rizia is clearly thinking, okay, I've got to figure out how do I get a good exit onto these long straightaways. As we've mentioned previously, the straights here are longer than any other road course that we do this year. So this is a great passing opportunity.
Yeah, turn 7 is an opportunity. They just went through there. Now the 8-9 section. Battle for first and second and third and fourth. Rizia and Harvey up front. Martin, how cautious do you have to be when you're talking about passing your teammate? A little tougher for Harvey in this situation to make that move. Might it be different if it was not a teammate?
Yeah, of course. I mean, every time you're racing your teammates, every car on track you want to beat. But you always just have that nth degree more of caution, because if you do, collide with your teammate, it's going to be a very long walk back to your pit box, and you don't want to be in that briefing with your team boss explaining why you crashed with your teammate.
Just a couple of laps remaining. Harvey taking another look to the inside. Not close enough this time. Same thing for Brabham. He's another car length back of Barron for the third position.
Zach Veach trying an outside move here in turn 1. He's got Pascal Anderson as we see him and Gabby Chavez come together. We talked about this at the top of the show. Is this the race when Gabby Chavez and Zach Veach are going to come together? Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
These are the two championship leaders that make contact coming into turn number 1.
This is a bigger blow to Gabby Chavez than it is to Veach, because Veach got going immediately, whereas Chavez was stuck for a bit. That's just two cars trying to go for the same piece of real estate there. I don't think we're going to see anyone being at fault there. That's just a racing incident.
What a disastrous weekend for Gabby Chavez. An engine expired, very rare. We almost never see that in Indy Lights, and he finished last yesterday, and he's going to finish near the back today. Not much better for Zach Veach.
They both had shocking weekends. They've both been on the podium every single weekend so far this year, and now suddenly they're nowhere near the podium. I mean, I'm wondering if the pressure is piling on them for the championship, or if they're just having an odd weekend off with other factors playing in.
Well, Brabham is still chasing down Barron.
Brabham is just red hot here, wanting to get by that number 4 car of Alex Barron. Looking right, looking left, going to the outside. He's going to try that Zach Veach move, and he's going to run wide and run off the track. And that's going to be his last chance. We're on the final lap here in just a bit, and there is no way he's going to catch back up to Barron and make a pass there.
You can't blame him, though, because Barron took the low end. There was no way he was getting to that inside, so he had to go high side, but so difficult to hang on through that second corner.
Brabham absolutely did the right thing there. He went to the outside, challenged, and all that Barron would have needed to do was lock his wheel ever so slightly to make a small mistake. However, he didn't. He is doing a great job as a rookie here in Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires.
But that was great driving by Barron too. He defended well. He knew the challenge was coming from Brabham, and he kept his line and gave him room on the outside. So, he played fair and kept the position.
Yeah, not blocking, because he clearly stated his intentions. He was down on the inside the whole way through, coming through the final turns of the south end road course section. And just a couple of more chances now for Jack Harvey. He'll have one going into turn 1, and then turn 7 are the best opportunities through turn number 14. Back on the main straightaway. There's the white flag. A little more than 2.5 miles to go for Luis Rizia to be a winner at Indy.
It's now or never for him.
Luis Rizia has been picture perfect so far this race. He's kept his head cool under pressure. Jack Harvey has never been closer than he is right now. His final chance to pass is going to be into turn 7. We're now going through turn 3 and turn 4. He needs a good run out of here through the 5-6 chicane in order to be able to do something. Doesn't look to me like he's going to be close enough to do anything.
He's still 2 or 3 car lengths behind. Holman Boulevard, the backstretch, the second longest section. Harvey will take a peek to the inside. Not close enough.
And that could very well be the end of the race here unless Rizia does a mistake here through the 8, 9, and 10 complex. Really tough section here, back-to-back corners as he unwinds his hands and only has one braking zone left now for Harvey to take a peek, but he is not close enough, and it's looking likely that Luis Rizia will take his first win. And hey, no better place than the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Last braking zone right there, turn number 12. 2 more turns to go for Luis Rizia. Sam Schmidt Motorsports has not won in 2014. Razia and Harvey can make it a 1-2. Back on the main straightaway. The twin checkers waving. And Luis Razia has won for the first time in Indy Lights, and he does it at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
What a win, and what a way to come back for Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports. They've won so many races at this track, and they are back.
Jack Harvey finishes in the second position. We'll hear from the winner coming up in a moment. Back in Indianapolis, where Luis Razia has won the Grand Prix of Indianapolis to victory lane with Jake Query.
Luis Razia, for the 5th time in the last year, you have won an open wheel race. First time here, obviously, in the Indy Lights, presented by Cooper Tires. Congratulations on a win here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks to the team. I mean, was difficult to earn this one. It was really difficult, and thanks God I could keep it. I don't know how I did, but it was really good. And you know, I won in each category that I have passed, and I was pushing so hard to do this. And, you know, now it came a little bit late, but, you know, we keep pushing to repeat that result.
You know, Jack was behind you, and that lead started to shrink in the last quarter of the race, but yet he was in your mirrors all day but couldn't make that move. What were you doing to hold him at bay?
I mean, I don't know. I was just racing normally, tried to be clean with him also. You know, he had a better car for sure than me, and I just hold off him as much as I could. It was so difficult. My rear was all over the place, and my gear shift was not good. But yeah, you know, we won. That's it.
We'll let you celebrate and enjoy this one.
Thank you.
All right, he has won here on the road course just a couple of weeks now. Luis Razia will try to win the oval for the Freedom 100 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
That's right, Jake. They'll be back there, part of Carb Day, running on the oval 2 days before the 500. Really good racing today. Here are the final results. Razia, Harvey, Barron, Brabham, Zach Veach, and 7th. Anders had a really eventful day.
And have a look at the results here. 5 rookies in the top 5 here. That's the first time we've seen that all season long with the veterans. Zach Veach and Gabby Chavez all the way down in 7th and 8th.
Matthew Brabham has a good weekend. He won yesterday and did some good racing today to get to 4th.
He did an astounding job. He fell back a little at the start, but then he clawed his way right back and almost got that 3rd position.
All right, let's go back down to the grid. We had great racing today between the teammates, Razia and Harvey. Here again is Jake Query.
Another race and another podium for Jack Harvey, but I got to tell you, it looked for a while there, like in turn 1 in particular, you were trying to get that move in on Luis and just couldn't get it done. Heck of a run, but when did you realize that he might have just had a little bit too much for you?
To be honest, I felt like I had his pace the whole race. It's just so difficult to overtake you. As soon as you get close, you get stuck in what we call dirty air. When the air from under the car gets all messed up, it ruins the dynamics of the car. And I kept it flat through turn 14 to try and get the straight. And to be honest, at that moment, I was just waiting for him to make a mistake. You know, I was looking just so he knew that I was there and I wasn't backing away. And you know, he drove a really good race, didn't make the mistakes, and I could only finish 2nd.
Another run, another podium in Indianapolis. Congratulations on a solid run.
Thanks, mate.
All right, Jack Harvey, a 2nd place finish here behind, of course, Luis Razia.
Great day for Sam Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports, and here's the championship. It was 12, now it's 5, and look at it. Razia now in the 2nd position. He was 30 back before this race began. Gabby Chavez, Anders, falls to 3rd.
Yeah, and huge comeback here for Luis Razia. We saw Zach Veach and Gabby Chavez pulling away in points before this race, and we thought they were going to be untouchable. And now we see Luis Razia just way up there.
Jack Harvey was 4th. He's still 4th, but he's much closer to that. Back to pit lane, and Jake.
Alex Barron, great battle up front for 1 and 2, but I noticed as the laps were clicking off, you were keeping those 2 right there. Solid run for you, but were you happy with the car? Were you pleased with the run?
I was pleased with the run. We didn't have the best car, but I mean, how the weekend started, I'm really pleased with the final result here in Indianapolis.
What was the overall challenge of this particular course, and what areas do you feel like maybe is where you left a little bit out there?
Well, I mean, we didn't have the best car out there since the beginning of the weekend. We all know that. The team knows that. But, I mean, like I said, we kept on working, and the final result is here.
Podium finish and a good points weekend. Congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
Alex Barron finishes 3rd.
Good racing today. Fun weekend. We had the wet yesterday, the dry today. Luis Razia wins at Indianapolis. Martin Plowman has been kind enough to join us in the booth. Getting set to race in the Indianapolis 500 this month. What are you thinking about that?
I'm excited. I mean, this is what I've dreamed about since I was 5 years old. I came over here to the States 5 years ago just to one day race at the 500, and I feel like Indy Lights in 2 years has prepared me well, but it's such a big learning curve for me, so I'm just taking it one step at a time.
And Anders, Indy Lights has the oval here at Indy next.
It's going to be such an exciting race. We saw a 4-wide finish last year, and, well, it's impossible to make it a 5-wide finish, but it's going to be exciting yet again.
Live on NBCSN on Carb Day with the final Verizon IndyCar Series practice, the pit stop competition, and much more. For Martin Plowman and Anders Krohn, I'm Kevin Lee. Congratulations to Luis Razia.